So let's go back to where I left it.
Yeah, one of the things I think's been missed about Trump is that I think we're going to be paying for this for a very long time, even if he's a success. Which again, I hope that he is to a moderate degree. I think if he's, I actually think there's another scenario.
The country is a success.
Right. I want the country to survive this. If Trump was somehow a tremendous success, which I don't see happening, I think there's dangers in that too, because I think it changes our entire form of government.
Yes.
To some sort of authoritarian, almost dictatorship.
Hang on, let me clarify that for anybody who doesn't think that is a possibility. Yesterday, he gave a glowing speech. In fact, traveled down because he's going to model his administration after Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson is I believe, and I've never seen anybody in history, of some, history professor make this case, but perhaps before I die, I will. I believe the Republic ended with the Jackson administration. That if you trace it back to where the founders would say, so when did the Republic actually die? We'd all say now, well, it's now, we're still doing it. And they'd be like, no. But I think they would look back and they would say, Andrew Jackson, he was a very bad man, thoroughly corrupt, was the reason we slaughtered all the Indians. We went from divine providence to manifest destiny. He was extraordinarily dangerous, and that's Donald Trump's model.
Yeah, and now officially it is. We saw him salute at his tomb yesterday. But I think the more realistic scenario is that Trump is somewhere a mediocre or a failed president, but has changed the rules in a way that has set the foundation for something far worse than Donald Trump. I don't know what that is, but let's just think about it in practical terms. Post Donald Trump, how do we ever, as Republicans, may ever nominate someone based upon electability again? That's not going to be possible, because we've now, for a generation or more, we have been discredited, the people who actually want to care about winning elections, because of this fluke that happened in 2016. So now forever and ever, the we don't care about electability crowd will always be able to say Donald Trump. Yet Donald Trump will never be able to be duplicated. He's a celebrity faux billionaire with magic that cannot be translated to somebody else.
The right time, the right message, the right time. It was a moment.
But he still lost by 3 million popular votes.
Yeah, but it was still a moment.
Right, I get it, but he was lucky as heck.
Yeah, all the stars aligned.
Yeah, but there's other things. On what basis will we as Republicans ever disqualify another Democratic candidate from a character standpoint? On what basis? And now we're now living in a world where we as Republicans, we can't criticize anyone for even lying. Forget about issues of how you treat women, infidelity, corruption within your own finances. I mean, there's literally nothing I can think of that we have any credibility going forward disqualifying somebody else. Plus, we've now established that you need no qualifications for the job at all, that celebrity itself is a qualification. My gosh, I mean, to me, the Pandora's box that this opens up for the rest of our lives, having nothing to do inherently with whether Trump is a success or not, is mind-blowing. And no one seems to think about these things or care about them, because all we care about is, boy, the overnights were awesome. Let's ride this train. This train is great. And boy, doesn't it feel good. It feels so good to punch the other side in the mouth after 8 years of having to take Obama. Well, you know what? So does a drug binge feel pretty good. But most drug binges end up with you face first in the gutter vomiting. And
I wonder why you weren't welcome on talk radio.
And I'm not a drug user, but most drug binges don't end up very well. And this feels like a drug binge to me. The whole thing, it's not based in any principle. It's not based in any logic. Truth. By the way, this might be the biggest issue for me. I'm a truth guy. The idea that we now have a president of the United States. Forget about being a liar. We've had liars in the job before. To my knowledge, we never had anybody who was separated from reality. He doesn't even accept reality at times. And now, as to mention talk radio is expected to defend that. That whatever, it's like he's a monarch. Whatever the king says shall be, regardless of whether or not it's true. And
they do.
Oh, they do. Sure, they do. Because you don't tick off the Trump cult. Because the Trump cult is your core talk radio and Fox News Channel audience. And like any cult, a cult does not like being told something they don't like to hear. The business model is tell a very enthusiastic sliver of the overall audience what they want to hear. That's how you succeed in modern media. And that's what we have seen to the conservative media industrial complex in the era of Donald Trump. And that's how he won the nomination. There's zero, I've written extensively at Mediaite about this. I think I wrote presciently about this very early on in the process. There was no doubt that the key players in the movement saw where this was going from a financial standpoint, saw where the audience was, and that's when the train, left the station and it was all over. And frankly, a lot of people, Glenn, were very slow. Even some of the better people in our business were slow to realize how late it was. In other words, I think that the Republican process was basically over when he won New Hampshire. It was over. It had too much momentum at that point. There are some people in our business who rationalized, I criticized him after that. Well, great. It was too late then. The rocket ship had already taken off. And now we're just talking about when exactly it's going to land. And sure enough, that's what ended up happening. Now, we ended up, in the short run, getting lucky because he beat Hillary Clinton in what I consider to be a fluke. But are we going to pay for that eventually? I hope not, but I think so. I mean, logic dictates eventually we're going to pay for this as a country, not just as a conservative movement.
Let me bring it down to the conservative movement.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself at odds with both the liberals and the conservatives right now.
Mm-hmm.
But I also find more people on the left, and I know it's convenient for them now, but I find more people on the left at least willing to say, what does this mean? Mm-hmm. What does all of this mean? I don't get that very often from conservatives. I want to stop calling myself a conservative.
Well, what the heck is it? What does it
mean? Know.
What does it mean? I have no idea what it means.
I don't want to call myself a Christian because I don't know what that means anymore. And I know what it means to me, but I don't know what it means to the rest of the country and to the rest of the world. When I go and meet people and they don't know me, I don't want them to introduce me as a conservative, as a Christian, a conservative Christian GOP guy. What is that? Because I don't think I have anything really in common with what people think that is now. So if we are living in a world where my audience, I've always had a great bond with my audience. I love my audience. But my audience is probably the strongest audience in the conservative world that still is connected to reason. They may disagree with me, but they'll at least listen to something. They're still here. So they're not needing a steady diet of affirmation. But my audience is pushed to the limits, I believe. How do we have these conversations where we say, okay, guys, what does it really mean? Forget about Donald Trump. What is it going to mean for our children? What's it going to mean 10 years down the road? How do we reconnect with reason? How do we do that?
I wish I had an answer to that, Glenn. It's a great question. I think one of the things we learned in 2016 is that there's not that many people in that group that you're talking about, not your audience.
Okay, so let me come back there, and with this, think about this and answer it on the other side. I think there are. I think that they were tired of being hit in the face, and it felt good to have somebody hit them back and make them shut up. But I think there's going to come a time where that starts to wear off, and you start to sober up a bit, and you're like, ugh, that's really dangerous, because maybe what wakes them up is more problems, and they want that bully to protect them more. I don't know. But what about the idea that they just right now just were tired and wanted somebody to hit back? Answer it when we come back.